When you think of Hollywood's golden age, you picture glamorous stars living lives of luxury and fame. But what if those same faces you knew from the silver screen had once stared down Nazi machine guns, crawled through European battlefields, and earned medals for valor that would make action heroes weep? These five legendary actors didn't just play tough guys. They were the real deal, forged in the fires of World War II. Neville Brand looked like trouble from the moment he appeared on screen. That scarred face, those intense eyes, that gravelly voice. Audiences assumed it was all acting. They had no idea they were looking at the most decorated United States soldier ever to become an actor. Brand earned his terrifying screen presence the hard way, on the battlefields of Europe, where he nearly died multiple times for his country. Brand enlisted in 1939, 2 years before America even entered the war. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, he was already a seasoned soldier. Assigned to the 331st Infantry Regiment of the 83rd Infantry Division, Brand found himself in some of the war's bloodiest campaigns. The Ardennes Offensive, the brutal push through the Rhineland, the final assault into Germany's heartland. Brand was there for all of it, leading men into combat as a sergeant and platoon leader. The moment that earned Brand his Silver Star happened along the Weser River in April 1945. German forces had dug in with machine gun nests that were slaughtering American troops. While his men took cover, Brand single-handedly charged the enemy position, taking out multiple gun emplacements and clearing the way for his unit's advance. He was wounded multiple times during the war, earning 2 Purple Hearts, a Bronze Star, and that Silver Star for gallantry in action. When Brand returned to civilian life, Hollywood casting directors took one look at his war-scarred face and typecast him as a villain. Films like Stalag 17, The Birdman of Alcatraz, and countless westerns made him the go-to bad guy. The irony was devastating. America's most heroic soldier was forever playing criminals and thugs. Brand rarely spoke about his service, letting audiences believe his intimidating presence was just good acting. In reality, every scar told a story of genuine heroism. Ed Norton from The Honeymooners seems like the last person you'd picture in combat. Art Carney's lovable sewer worker character was pure joy, optimistic, bumbling, endlessly cheerful. But Carney's comedy genius was built on a foundation of real wartime trauma that he spent decades learning to process. Drafted in 1943, Carney was shipped to Europe with the 28th Infantry Division. In July 1944, 6 weeks after D-Day, his unit landed at Normandy and immediately plunged into the brutal hedgerow fighting that was tearing the American advance apart. The Germans had turned every field and farmhouse into a fortress, and advancing meant crawling through a meat grinder. During the Battle of Normandy, Carney was struck by shrapnel that tore through his right leg. The injury was severe enough that his right leg ended up 3/4 of an inch shorter than his left, causing him to walk with a limp for the rest of his life. He spent months in military hospitals before being discharged with a Purple Heart and multiple campaign medals. What made Carney's story remarkable was how he transformed his war trauma into comedy gold. The physical limitations from his injury actually enhanced his performance as Ed Norton. That distinctive walk, the way he carried himself, even his timing were all influenced by his war wounds. Carney rarely discussed his service, but those closest to him knew that Norton's relentless optimism was Carney's way of processing the darkness he'd witnessed in France. The character that brought joy to millions was born from genuine suffering, proving that sometimes the funniest people are those who've seen the worst humanity has to offer. Christopher Lee's imposing presence made him perfect for playing monsters, but his most mysterious role was the one he could never discuss publicly. During World War II, Lee served as an RAF intelligence officer in operations so classified that he took most of the details to his grave. After being medically disqualified from pilot training due to optic nerve damage, Lee was recruited into intelligence work. His linguistic skills, he spoke French, Italian, German, and several other languages fluently, made him invaluable for liaison operations. Lee was attached to various special forces units throughout the war, working behind the scenes to coordinate between RAF intelligence and ground operations. Based in North Africa and later in Italy, Lee's duties involved briefing and debriefing pilots, coordinating with resistance networks, and gathering intelligence on German positions. As the war wound down, he was seconded to the Central Registry of War Criminals and Security Suspects, helping track down Nazi war criminals across occupied Europe. Lee's real wartime activities were far less dramatic than the stories that circulated later. He wasn't jumping out of planes behind enemy lines or personally hunting Nazis. He was doing the unglamorous but vital work of military intelligence. When pressed about his service in later interviews, Lee would cryptically say he was attached to special forces but couldn't discuss specifics, leading to wild speculation about his war record. The truth was classified paperwork and radio intercepts, not the action hero exploits some claimed. But Lee's genuine service, combined with his natural storytelling ability, created a mystique that enhanced his screen presence. When he played Dracula or Saruman, audiences sensed they were watching someone who had genuinely encountered evil, and they weren't entirely wrong. Rock Hudson embodied everything America wanted its leading men to be in the 1950s. Tall, handsome, masculine, and wholesome. His romantic comedies with Doris Day defined an era of innocent entertainment. But Hudson's wartime service in the Pacific revealed the first glimpses of the complex double life he would maintain throughout his career. Hudson enlisted in the Navy in 1944, straight out of high school. After training at Great Lakes Naval Station, he was shipped to the Philippines as an aircraft mechanic with Aviation Repair and Overhaul Unit 2, based on Samar Island. While Hollywood would later market him as the epitome of American masculinity, Hudson was already grappling with his identity as a gay man in an era when homosexuality was not just stigmatized, it was illegal. His service in the Philippines was competent but unremarkable. Hudson maintained aircraft that supported the final push against Japanese forces, keeping planes operational in the humid, challenging conditions of the Pacific Theater. He returned to San Francisco aboard an aircraft carrier in 1946, was discharged, and immediately headed to Los Angeles to pursue acting. What made Hudson's story compelling wasn't his military heroics, it was the tragedy of a man forced to hide his true self while representing American ideals on screen. His Navy service taught him discipline and the ability to maintain a facade, skills that would prove essential when Hollywood's publicity machine transformed him into a romantic leading man. Lex Barker's portrayal of Tarzan made him famous for swinging through Hollywood jungles, but before he conquered the backlot, he was crawling through real combat zones in one of the war's most brutal campaigns. Enlisting in early 1941, 10 months before Pearl Harbor, Barker rose quickly through the ranks to become a major. When American forces invaded Sicily in 1943, Barker was there for some of the fiercest fighting of the Mediterranean campaign. The Germans had turned the island into a fortress, with every hilltop and village defended by experienced troops who knew the terrain intimately. During the assault on Sicily, Barker was wounded twice, once in the head, once in the leg, earning him 2 Purple Hearts. The head wound was particularly severe, requiring extensive treatment at a military hospital in Arkansas after his evacuation back to the States. These weren't minor scratches, they were life-threatening injuries that left permanent scars. What made Barker's transition to Hollywood remarkable was how completely he reinvented himself. The battle-hardened major who had led men through some of the war's deadliest fighting became famous for playing a character who lived in harmony with nature. Tarzan's noble, savage persona was the polar opposite of Barker's military experience, yet his natural athleticism and commanding presence made him perfect for the role. Barker's 5 Tarzan films between 1949 and 1953 made him an international star, but they also typecast him in ways that echoed Neville Brand's experience. The man who had proven his courage under fire was forever associated with a character who avoided civilization entirely. When American film roles dried up, Barker moved to Europe, where his military bearing and linguistic skills, he spoke multiple languages fluently, made him a star in German and Italian adventure films. These 5 men represent something profound about the generation that fought World War II and then built post-war America. They had stared into the abyss of human evil and emerged with stories they rarely told. Instead, they channeled their experiences into entertainment
that helped a nation heal from trauma.